So for today's lesson, we're just going to take some time to review some of the lessons we've done so far in order to help us prepare for the quiz. If you'd like to get more in depth on any of these lessons or watch more examples, be sure to go back and re-watch some of the other lessons. So again, remember in 9-1 we were stating whether or not a sequence is arithmetic or not. Remember that's adding the same number over and over again. So you see here we are adding 8, adding 8, adding 8, and adding 8. So we can say yes. Alright, so yes or no. And if it is, state the common difference. So we can say common difference equals 8, or plus 8 might be important as well. Alright, so in this problem here, I see that from here to here, we're actually dividing that number by 3. And so again, we're dividing this one by 3, and dividing this one by 3, and then dividing this one by 3. So since this involves multiplication or division, we're going to say no. It's not an arithmetic sequence, because arithmetic involves only addition or subtraction. Alright, so we have another example here. I'll go ahead and leave that one blank. You can try that one if you want, and if you have any questions on that, we can talk about it in class. So another example here, this is we're adding 20, now we're adding 100. Okay, so right now we know it's no. There's no common difference. So again, some other examples here for you. You can check those out on your own. Alright, 9-2, we were using functions. So f of x if f of x, or f of 6 if f of x equals 4 times x. So you just plug in that value, 4 times 6, that equals 24. So the f of 6 equals 24 would be your answer. Okay, same thing here. So we're going to say f of 5 equals 3 times 5 minus 2, which is 15 minus 2, which equals 13 for an answer. Okay, so there's some other ones here. Yes, this one involves a fraction, so if you wanted to work that one out, we can do that. So we're say f of 2/9 equals 3 times 2/9 plus 1/3. Alright, so 3 would be 3 over 1. Simplify the 3 and the 9 to be 1 and 3. Okay, when we multiply that, we're going to get 2/3 plus 1/3, which equals 3/3, which equals 1. So that would be your answer for that one. Okay, so these other functions are pretty much the same. So if you wanted more examples for your notes, you can go ahead and fill those out. If you have any questions, we can talk about those in class. Completing the function table, that'd be as just simple as 5 times -4 minus 4. Well, you're going to get -20 minus 4 would be -24. So remember, f of x is the same thing as our y. That's our range or our output. X is our domain. So 5 times -1 minus 4, we're going to get -5 minus 4, -9. 5 times 3 minus 4, we're going to get 15. So that'll be 11. Okay, and then for our last one, we'll do 5 times 6 minus 4. That'd be 30 minus 4, which would be 26. Okay, now when we look at the function, we see that the coefficient is 5. So some of you may notice that this is not plus 5. Now, look over to the left side, and you'll notice that this side, they're going by plus 3. And then here, they're doing plus 4. And then here, they're doing plus 3. So since the common difference over here is not 1, then you're not going to notice the common difference equal to the coefficient here, because they're jumping more than one spot. So it says state the domain and range of the function. Well, this is the domain, this is the range. So you could simply just write that domain here, and then range is there. You're already writing it in your table. So you don't need to rewrite it and list it. Just write that this is the domain, this is the range, and we're set. Okay, for 9-3, we're talking about graphing the functions. So you're going to need a function table, x, y. Okay, again, choose 4 points with -1, 0, 1, 2 would work fine. Okay, plug those numbers in for x. 2 times -1 is -2. We're going to get 0. Then we're going to get 2 times 1 is 2, and 2 times 2 is 4. Now you notice here we're getting our +2, +2, +2. That matches our coefficient because our increase here is by 1. So we're actually going to notice that the common difference is equal to the coefficient there. Now if we graph that, we'll go -1, -2, and then we'll go 0, 0, and then 1, 2, and then 2, 4. And then we can go ahead and draw our line here for this one. And we have our graph. Now if you notice here, the slope is +2, +1. And so the common difference and the slope are the same thing. All right, so again, start with an XY table. Now, be creative here, all right? Look at your coefficient, it's 1, 4. So I'm going to go ahead and use -4, 0, 4, and 8, because those are numbers easily divided by 4. Now, notice that my common difference is not going to be 1/4 like it should be. But I want to make the multiplication easier for myself to do it in my head. So -4 times 1/4 would be -1. -1 plus 2 would be 1. 0 times this would be 0, plus 2 is 2. 4, well, 1/4 of 4 is 1, plus 2 is 3. And 8, 1/4 of 8 would be 2. Okay, because you'd have 8 over 1, and then this would be a 2, this would be a 1, so you get 2 over 1. 2 plus 2 is 4. So notice these are actually going up by 1 rather than 1/4. But that does make sense because this is +1, and this is +4, and it's always y over x, so that would be 1 to 4. This is going up 1 for every 4 that this one's going up. So it does make sense. So let's go and graph that 1, 2, 3, 4, and we went 1. And we're at 0, 2, and we're at 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, and the next one's not going to fit, so that's fine. We have more than enough to be able to graph this line, and just remember all these points are solutions as well. It's just that they didn't match up and land right on the middle of a intersection. So again, that's why I chose these values. Oops. That's why I chose these values for x. Rather than just -1, 0, 1, 2, because I knew that they were compatible with my coefficient of 1/4. All right, so it says graph the function 1x plus 4y equals 20. So what I need to do is I need to get that into slope-intercept form here. So I want to solve for y, because remember f of x equals y. So I need to get it solved for y. So let's subtract 1x on both sides, and I'm going to be left with 4y equals -x plus 20. Let's go ahead and divide by 4. Remember, whatever you do to one side, you have to do to the other side, and you have to do it to everything. So this is going to be y equals -1/4 x, or just -x over 4. It's a little bit easier to write it like this, then you can easily see what the slope is going to be. And then we're going to say plus 5. All right, so it says graph the function to determine how many of each type of furniture Mrs. Valdez can assemble in 20 days. Notice here we're only looking at quadrant 1 because negative answers does not make sense here because you can't really go backwards in time. If we were to think of this, again, this is 1/4. So you're going to want to use compatible numbers with that again. So you use your x and y table. All right, and we can start with x being 0 because we're going to start right here, and we're going to be at a +5. If x is 4, notice here you're going to get -1 plus 5, which is 4. So 0, 5, 4, 4, and now let's use maybe an 8. You're going to get -2 plus 5 is 3. All right, and then you can go ahead and graph that and see what we have so far. So 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 would be right here. And then 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4 would be right there. And then 8, 5, 6, 7, 8, 1, 2, 3 would be right there. And we can go ahead and graph this. Be just like that. Okay, and so this is the graph that represents how many of each type of furniture Mrs. Valdez can assemble in 20 days. Noticing that the slope is negative, so therefore this graph is going down. So she can assemble a chair in 1 day and a table in 4 days. So it kind of just represents, you know, if she makes more chairs rather than tables, the graph kind of goes either up or down. Obviously, she can make more of one compared to the other, possibly. All right, so finding the slope given a graph here, probably the easiest way to do that is just count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So that's plus 5, and then 1, 2 is plus 2. So the slope is 5 halves. And go ahead and leave that as an improper fraction, just like it is. Okay, and now we want to use y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. So since 4 would be further to the right, I'm going to say that's, whoops, that point B is going to be my point 2, and point A will be my point 1. So I'm going to use y2, which is 7 minus 3, and x2 is going to be 4 minus 1, which gives me 4 thirds, and I'm going to leave that as improper fraction. So again, the same thing here. This is going to be my point 2 because it's going to be further to the right. This will be my point 1. So y2 is 3, y1 is negative 5, and x2 is 2 minus negative 2. And so these are both uh-ohs. Let's fix those. So we have 8 over 4, which equals 2 over 1, which is 2. So the slope there is 2. All right, now in 9-5 we were doing direct variations. So he charges $135 for 4 hours and $202.50 for 6 hours. What is the hourly rate Jerry charges to rent a snowmobile? So if we figure that out, we can do 135 divided by 4. 135 divided by 4 is $33.75 per hour. And then let's just check that to make sure that it stays the same for the 6 hours. So we can do 202.50 divided by 6, and that's also your $33.75. So we can just say $33.75 per hour, and that would be your direct variation. And for our last example, we have some more where we would set up proportions to solve. So you could say that negative 5 over 2 equals y over 8. And so you see we're multiplying by 4, so multiply by 4. So y equals negative 20. All right, so trying another one. Again, set up a proportion. We don't know y. So y over 1 equals 3 over 2. Again, notice from here to here, we're just multiplying by 2. So that means from here to here, we would divide by 2. Okay, so the same thing, multiply by 2 or divide by 2 that way. So y is actually going to be 3 halves, or 1.5. In this case, you could write that either way. You could write 1.5, you could write 1.5, or you could write 3 halves. Any of those would be acceptable answers for number 10. All right, so if you'd like to watch more examples or see more and review on each example, each lesson specifically, be sure to check those videos out and possibly rewatch them before it's time for us to take the quiz.